the real reason for the Federal Reserve. The real reason for the Federal Reserve, in my opinion, is to create a private-public partnership controlling the flow of money. So let's take a different industry, and then we'll examine money. So let's just take automobiles. You have Tesla, Toyota, Hyundai. If the government entered into a public-private partnership with Tesla and all these other companies, I mean, in a way they do in a small amount through incentives and, now through infrastructure spending. But if they directly, like, during the 2008 crisis when they gave loans with conditions, if they did that, in terms of actually controlling the industry, that would be unmitigated socialism. It would be the government controlling the industry. But the government controlling the money is the government, I don't want to say controlling money, government and business in partnership, essentially on money, public-private partnership, is, and partnership is kind of a loose term because I don't know the inner workings of the Fed, although I've seen quite a bit of information about it. It's probably business controlling government money more than the other way around. So partnership is kind of like, there is a partnership there, but it might be more one-sided than the other. But it's basically socialized control of money. Let me explain a little bit and some of the ramifications. So the Fed was created, most people think the Fed is a government agency because it sounds like a government agency. It's called the Federal Reserve. And then, they deal with interest rates and they deal with, stimulus, monetary policy and with, all the things that sound like government things. And they do work in partnership with the government. But it was created over a century ago by private industry. And I believe is still fully owned by private industry. I'm not 100% sure about that, but I believe it's still 100% owned by private industry. And they take the government's, they back the government in the, in the printing of money, and the government, goes on their balance sheet, from what I understand. It's basically like a partnership where they loan money to the government and the government, owns them the money. So it's basically like, this is why we get, all the bailouts, too big to fail, and, capitalism on the way up and socialism on the way down. Because basically, I mean, this is a little bit simplistic because there's more, mechanisms than just the Fed, but the Fed is like the final arbiter. It can always print more money and there's nothing to really stop it. And it's not, I mean, the government has the treasury, so the two of them, like you can see I'm a little bit, I understand the key concept. I'm a little bit fuzzy on exactly all the details of how things interplay. And that's because I'm not a Fed governor, but also because the Fed is very mysterious in terms of how they, do their inner workings. Like I said, most people don't even realize that the Fed is a private rather than a public facility. So the real reason for the Federal Reserve is to have control of the money supply by private industry and have a private-public partnership. So basically, all the money flows. The government borrows money from the Fed. It goes on the balance sheet. They have to pay it back with interest. It creates huge federal deficits. And then I think it's by law, U.S. citizens are responsible for those deficits. So basically it's putting money out of thin air and making sure that, benefits private industry because they control the Fed and own the Fed. And then we're stuck with the bill. So, it's getting massive liquidity for, banks like in the bailouts and others. and also through the open windows for borrowing, and also through all the incredible stimulus, one stimulus package over another into the trillions. So basically what it's doing is it's making it so that our money supply is controlled. Now that's why, crypto and blockchain, is such a threat. I mean, it'll probably be co-opted, just like you have private blockchains and you have public blockchains. I mean, a lot of big companies like IBM and others, JP Morgan, are leaders of blockchain. So it was kind of like the internet. The internet started as a way for like the little guy to like have a way to compete against the big companies. But now all the big companies took over the internet. Like the biggest websites on the internet are, Google, Facebook, Amazon, all the big companies. The same thing's going to happen in blockchain. But basically and I'm not sure if the president actually picks the head of Federal Reserve or not. There is some, interplay between, top government officials and top, Fed officials. I'm not sure exactly how that's structured, but the main idea is that the Fed is essentially a public-private partnership that benefits, in large measure, the private sector, both the owners of the Fed and who benefits by Fed policy. And it's basically socialized money. It's basically, too big. It's basically capitalism on the way up and socialism on the way down, meaning that when you hit a crisis, the masses pay for your losses and they're on the hook. But, to realize the gains, is capitalism, and you can make as much money as you want.